here. So I'm pinching for him, chairman for the May meeting of the Leavenworth County Port Authority. I'd like to call the May meeting to order. And our first item of action is to approve the minutes from the April meeting that are in your packet there.
I would make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
Okay, Chris, do I have a second?
Second.
Mike, we're gonna be pretty limited on people here, so. Go
Okay.
ahead. Any other comments or questions? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the minutes from April, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. And Dan Clemens is not here today, but Mary is going to give the treasurer's report.
Okay, so on your financial. Sorry, just 1 second.
That's fine. More notes.
This, I'm going.
X amount,
I'm gonna
yeah.
decline these.
That note taker, you don't have to do that. No, it'll just stop beeping at us.
Okay, and same here. There we go.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you.
yeah, okay. So on your financials, there isn't a whole lot going on. You do have your interest from your CD with mutual savings. 2888.
Oh, Josh,
And it was Josh, yes, Lord.
you gotta remove
And remove it, that's what I.
and then
thought.
remove. Moments right there.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. But you have your interest from mutual savings on the CD for 2888. 0.69. You've got your interest from the checking account of $39.31. On the expense side, you've got $1,500 transfer from the big account to the small account. And about every 6 months or so, they approve that so that I can pay the smaller bills like the accountant and QuickBooks and things of that nature. And you have your director and officer insurance for Liberty Mutual for $26.51. And then you've got your accountant for $125, QuickBooks for $35, Evergy for $37.59. And then there is like a $5 fee for your statement from Commerce. But other than that, that's it for your financials.
Okay, anybody have any questions about anything for Mary?
Mary or Lisa, go back to your budget, what you had there before, please. Under income county, annual budget assets, 567,000 from the county. I assume that's what we asked for, that we're not getting, correct?
Correct.
Yes,
And we've
that's
received no income from the county for 2025.
correct, not yet.
Okay. The cash okay, that was my only question I had.
If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the financial report for April.
I will make a motion to approve it as presented. Thank you, Mary.
Second by Mike, thank you. Any more discussion? If not, I'll call the question of approval of the April financial report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. 2026 budget discussion. There's a slide there that, yeah, thank you, Mary.
Greg, I'm sorry you're seeing this. I didn't get to let you know. I was able to put together a very draft budget. This is not approved, not a final at all. So what I wanted to just show you, because I need to get some guidance from you all to finish this. So the first, we're starting out with the assets from the December 31st, 2024 numbers, which is 785, 766.02. Then below the next item, which is the one thing I'd like to really get information from you, is the amount if you request from the county, and if so, how much you want to request from the county for 2026. We'll come back to that. If you scroll down, Mary, a little bit, you'll see operating expenses. LCDC's amount that they will be requesting from the Port Authority is $143,842. And that is a 3.1 increase, matching CPI, from last year. So that's why that number came to that number. And then below are some expenses you've got. We did a economic impact. We've been budgeting for that each year. General park maintenance, which is, mowing and that sort of thing. And then any other things like accounting, legal, all those is about $15,000 a year. So there are the total operating expenses. Then the below are really ones that you guys need to look at today and see, are these things you want to ask for again, including your ask of the county this year? These are the numbers under program funds. Those numbers are the same as last year. So I kind of wanted to go through those and see if, what are your thoughts? Are you wanting to ask from the county for 2026? And if so, how much?
Well, those are the general items that we've been keeping on with trying to get a full-blown economic development program going.
Correct.
So if we back into this from a perspective of what do we think we will actually hard copy need, like a labor study, or do we need to upgrade our labor study? And I think that probably answer is yes, or we'll be playing with an old cards. So that given, so that needs to be in. We're still working on a new industrial park. But a lot of that can be predicated on future fundraising. Then looking down, do we need a study for a new park? Is that relative? Because we obviously need a study before we need a new park. So I would say that one's something we really need to do and have available to have on the shelf when we go to taxpayers to ask for funding for economic development. I mean, if we don't have it, we're gonna have one less arrow in our quiver to discuss. I know Golden Shovel's doing certain things. So the things that I think we really have to have without the funding in place yet would be those types of things. I mean, that's a hard number, but we just don't have much to defend ourselves with. I hope that makes sense.
Do we have any more commitment to Golden Shovel beyond what we've already paid them?
Yeah, that's good. That needs to be on here.
Possibly, that at the end of the education campaign, they're going to suggest, they've talked about this, they're gonna suggest one more survey to see if the needle has been moved, to see if anybody has really understands economic development and the value that these two organizations are providing. So that will be was it 20,000?
20,000 was the first one. So if we put 20 and then the study for 50 and then the labor study, that's 75. Then drop, I don't like dropping the other things, but
Well, I'm
let's
just
be
saying,
realistic.
we need to figure what's the bare bones to operate, and then what are the things that we like to have, and then what,
Yep.
I mean.
And the other-
There's some big numbers there that could get cut pretty quickly, I think, from.
At this point in time with the spec building, unless
way
we just
things
wanna
look.
burn through all of our cash and be done. The spec building thing can come off, in my opinion, though I think you can see if we have buildings, people are requesting buildings, we got nothing to offer. I mean, it's kind of like you have a store open, you got nothing in it to sell, but we're open. So, but we still got, if we take that off, the job creation retention fund, there might be some just retention costs that are separate from creation.
They did tell us last year that the zero amount was temporary, correct? When we met with them before. Isn't that what you thought?
That's what I heard. That they were gonna reconsider it, hopefully bring it up in 2026. I agree with you.
I think we should go in with the amount that we had asked for last year at a minimum. And then see where that gets us and then work from that number.
This is about what we asked for
I
last.
think so, yeah.
Similar, we asked, I think it was like 153, so. I mean, well, no, I'm so sorry. We asked for, it was over 500,000 because it included all the operating expenses plus the program funds.
I think if you get. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I'm just questioning numbers, my memory sometimes.
The request was actually over 500,000.
Yeah, but
Total.
But
But
it had
the-
numbers in there like that
But
too. I think.
it broke it down in that, within that request,
okay.
and the operating expenses, I think was 150
Oh,
something.
I thought it was 168. Okay, that's fine.
No, it would have been, the only reason that this number is different is because LPDC has increased their ask for 2026 by 3.1%.
Right,
So it was actually less last year.
okay,
If you just, that number was 139,517, and then you add up those other numbers under operating expenses, that would be the total.
Gotcha.
okay, thank you.
So we leave the total operating expense in at 167. Then we have a labor study of 5,000. Can we still get them done to $5,000?
It's questionable. I have inquired to the company that has done our updates, which should be done every 2 years. It's on its third.
Right.
They are going through some type of change. They said, we're gonna get back to you. We want to, but I don't know what that new change is gonna be.
Well, it seemed like initially we did 15, and then when you get it updated every 2 or 3 years, it's a lesser amount than the
Yes.
initial
Yes,
number that they do.
yes.
Man, I just think we gotta have that.
I do, I agree.
Every single person asks for it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
And
that's,
unless, I don't know, if somebody else, the
I don't
county
know.
wanna do that one.
Nobody else is gonna do it.
Or the, I don't, I think.
it's
we
one
are
of the
right
key
people
pieces
to do
of
it.
data we use, and they usually want it within the last 2 years.
Yes. So we can put that on 5 or 6 or whatever number.
I think 5 is the safe number right now.
So maybe we just pencil some numbers in for our discussion with the commissioners tomorrow. Is that what you're thinking, Greg?
Yeah, that's probably what I would do. Or Lisa, the balance minus program funds, where are you getting that number? What's the math on that?
Yep, so you take, if you go back up to the top, the formula is, you go back up to the top under organization cash assets. The total for organization cash assets, assets, so that's 785, 766.02. You add the total revenue below it, which would be whatever we ask from the county. Then you subtract the operating expenses, and then you subtract the program funds. That's how that 213,000 came up.
Okay. I'm not seeing the top, so I'm only seeing just the very bottom part of that, so it's a little hard to.
Do we even need to show that top number? I think we just need to show what our operating expenses will be, and that's what the number is. I mean, they got the balance sheet here of what our other assets are.
That makes sense.
I think that line's confusing to me.
Okay. I've always thought that too. So I'm happy to take that whole organization cash assets out, correct?
Yeah,
You all,
Does the first one, the cash assets as of date, or the?
I would just put your LCDC budget, whatever that amount is, and then what you think we need below there, and say this is what,
Okay, so we're.
this is what our budget is for the total amount.
so if I understand correctly, basically from revenue down,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
Okay.
minus the bottom line.
Yes.
I think, scroll back down to the bottom, I think the industrial park study. I don't know exactly what we're gonna need on that. I mean, Harlan's done a lot of work on that. And we've done a lot of the legwork. I would hope if we had to do something, we probably still will have to do something once we pick a site to get a estimate of what the development costs would be, but I hope it wouldn't be quite that much.
Well, the things that come to my mind right now is you're gonna need a environmental ESA study, or phase 1. study
you know,
and a geotechnical. Those are usually the two that are really important to have. And I can't name the price off the top of my head.
Right.
phase
Yeah.
one, but a phase one could be as high as, depending on the site and how big, and could be $5,000 pretty easy. A geotechnical, that could be,
You might be able to speak more to that, right, Greg?
Yeah, it's just gonna depend on the size of the site. I mean, for a couple hundred acres, yeah, 25,000, I think, wouldn't be out of line.
agree with that, Greg,
Mhm.
if we could get it done for that.
Yeah, and like I said, it depends on the size of the site. I mean, if you're 300 acres, you may not get it for that.
Without any money, I think we are.
Well, without any funding, there's no question about that, it won't work.
Or at least a glimmer of where we're going.
So do we take completely off then?
Well. No, I think that's gonna get us. That's gonna get the ball rolling for what we eventually wanna do, the goal of. Having more land to market.
Yep.
But I mean, maybe Harlan could give us a better
I mean, he definitely probably could give you.
idea of amount and then timing as far as that goes.
What if you kept the study for the new business park? And, what about the marketing industrial development? I mean, it would be. We definitely need some funds to market it, but in the beginning,
Well, you just combine both of those and,
could you maybe reduce that for the first
sure,
step?
I think some of your golden shovel may end up going into that marketing too, though, that, you're probably gonna have another 20,000 there, like you say, for a survey, and you may have some additional costs too, if we do go for a mill rate increase. You're probably gonna have some additional costs, and that you're gonna have the cost of the election, a mail-in ballot. And I don't know if you'd maybe just wanna add another line item for those things.
Okay, so mail-in ballot, would cost minimum 60,000.
Okay,
That's just to the county for, the cost of it.
Yeah, I think we ought to line item that in there, that,
Yeah.
cause I mean, that's gonna be,
that's gonna be
that's why we're doing what we're doing.
that's gonna be part of our, proposal when we go to each one of the cities in the county.
So if, let's just forget all the line items up there, or circle the ones we wanna leave in, and I believe labor study has to be in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
Change the marketing and industrial and put in golden shovel. And put in cost of ballot, put those specifically in there. Cause those are givens.
So should I just put marketing and,
I wouldn't even put marketing,
no, I just put the,
I would put the specific name in their line item. We're not hiding anything, we
Okay.
want everybody to know what we're trying to do, that's the whole goal of this.
yeah,
So I
the
just change this to the campaign.
60
Or-
for the ballot. 20 for.
education campaign.
Yeah,
Education campaign,
Okay.
then the ballot cost. We're gonna spend those. And that's my opinion, I think some guys, but I think put specifically what we're trying to do,
Do you
so
think-
everybody knows it.
I'm concerned, you're doing an education campaign this year. If you put education campaign in for 2026, is that gonna confuse people being the same, for being the same thing? Cause really it's more of when you're educating, but you're marketing a ballot request.
But what is the timing of all that? I mean, we're
I don't know.
talking April of 26 for a ballot
Yes.
anyways.
Mhm.
I mean, now we're splitting hairs into, are we halfway in this year and halfway
Mhm.
into that year?
I think you just put it in there and worry about the context and the timing of it.
I
Okay,
mean, the clarity to the people who we're talking to, I think is important.
Right.
okay, I'm sorry, so. Well, I'll wait till you.
Labor study, golden shovel, ballot initiative, and I'd list them separately because they're both things that we're committed to doing in the near future. And then the study for the new business park, I think needs to be in there.
Okay, so that is 5,000 for the labor study,
Yeah,
20,000 for golden shovel survey. Wait.
Yeah.
Hold on. Golden shovel survey will be in 2025, not 2026.
Well, I thought it was in 2026, right before we
Well,
do the
Oh,
election.
you're right, it might be the first.
I mean,
That
I'm not
makes
sure
sense.
exactly when it's coming, we haven't got a set yet.
Right, okay, and then 60,000 for ballot cost. And how much for the golden shovel ballot initiative?
That's just us, or that's us, isn't it?
yeah.
Are you
Do
gonna
we have to
pay,
pay them?
do I get a paycheck? Wow, that would be new after 20 years.
Okay,
I think you're gonna spend some money with them on the campaign.
Marketing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have at least 25,000 in for that.
In golden shovel line item.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I'll call that a ballot campaign, is that okay?
Yeah,
yeah. And the spec building, I'd probably take it out.
So
Ballot campaign, how much, 25?
yeah.
if you take out spec building, now, when we're out talking to existing businesses, well, I hate to not have something in there for, we need to save business. Cause for them to keep them, what do you see when Diana goes out to talk to existing businesses?
About needs, maybe?
But what do we present or help them with anything, any cost to keep an existing business here?
We have not typically or had a situation where we needed to help with cost,
Okay,
that I have experienced. Ours is we've helped with workforce, well, I would say, I mean, LCDC has budgeted for a career fair and our CTE symposium, which is helping upskill, people for jobs here.
Micro grant.
That was funded by an outside effort or outside. We have provided a marketing grant, small micro grant. No, I can't think of anything. I'm just talking out loud. I can't think of anything where we've had to,
Mainly connections of, I'm having
Yes.
trouble with getting a hold of someone in the city or.
yeah, we present the connections to the Department of Commerce or
Right.
somebody for
For
programs.
the
we
state.
do the paperwork for their state incentives. But yeah, as far as funding them,
Okay.
I've not had that experience.
So what if we take that one out too, that line item for now? I think that is job creation retention, that's why we're here.
Right,
Eventually it needs to be in there, but when we're fully funded.
I'm fine with that.
It's up to,
And then the marketing industrial development, does it stay in or does it go?
I thought we were changing that to the education campaign.
Yeah, I
Okay,
take,
that's fine. That's fine.
so 50 plus labor is 5. Plus the survey 20. Plus 60. Plus 25 for. And that comes to 160,000 for program funds. And so that plus 167, 292. I have a total of 327,292 would be the amount you would request from the county.
Pretty more realistic till we know where we're gonna end up. Or the WSU, that we could have one or none a year or 20 a year, it depends on the
Right.
need and who comes in and. I know for one, from the city of Tonnanoxie, I wanna see one of our projects, and I don't know about the rest of it, but. Is there a demand for them? Does anybody else ask for them?
Well, the county has questioned the impact of companies when they're incented. So obviously we did that for Project Transport,
Yeah,
so we may need to do that continually.
is it, cause they're a couple $1,000 a piece.
Mhm.
I mean, you're trying to get back to realistic. Do you foresee 2 or 3 of those opportunities
I would
coming
say,
up in 26?
yeah, I would say that's probably reasonable.
That's not enough, 2,000 is not
Right.
enough.
You're probably right.
Those are good products. If you haven't read one, you need
Yeah.
to get your hands on and look at
They're amazing.
them. You really wanna see impact, or I think they are important to me as a,
So maybe at least think about 6,000 in there.
yeah, that's, rely on what your thoughts are on what we may be looking at and. I'm sure one's not very many,
No,
hoping for more.
I would
Put in
agree.
6, put in 3.
Yeah, I think so.
3, okay, yep.
I hope, I mean, that means we got people looking and.
That's right.
We're.
Opportunities.
And hoping things have settled down, by then, and so hopefully we'll be seeing some activity. Okay, so,
Okay, so do we have kind of a general outline of what we need to discuss with the county tomorrow of at least budget numbers of? or
I feel comfortable with what you've given me,
Okay,
putting that together. There are 4 of you, if you want to approve the budget with the recommendations provided today, I mean, you could today.
I don't think we need to do that. Let's just wait till we have more.
Yeah, I sure would just like the other board members to,
Yeah.
and now they're gonna miss the conversation,
Yeah.
the part, which is bad, but we can't fix that.
The only concern I have is that and we just wanna, make sure. Is she, when did I say, I think we're going before the county on July 9th,
Yes.
so we still
Yes.
have one more. So we have one more Port Authority where we
Yes.
could approve that
Yeah.
budget before then,
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to do, okay. I
Yep.
feel good then,
That'll work.
great.
Thanks for the
Okay,
discussion.
so we're good there. Mutual 6 months to do.
Yes, so you have your mutual savings 6-month CD that's coming to mature on 6th of June. And my question is, do you want to let that
That
mature?
is the 263, 258.
Well, we've been sending them all out for bid. Anyways, I think we ought to continue that
Rates
process.
are still kind of holding where they were.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much.
We appreciate mutual.
What do we have on these other ones? Are they laddered like in 6 months?
Yes,
Yep,
So let's just get another, whatever the next term is, 6 months out past.
so
Whichever,
let this one renew for 6 months and then, is that what you're saying?
no, I'm saying, well, which one is it first of all?
This is the mutual.
Well, there's 2 mutual. So this one's gonna mature, and then what's the maturity date on this one?
Oh, I have to look at that. I can look at it when I get up.
So it's probably 6 months. We probably do a year then. Have to do a year on this next one.
yes,
Then we'd be laddered every 6
we're
months.
still laddering out, yeah.
Okay, so it yearly.
Unless this FSB one. We know when it, I guess we need to find out when that one
Okay,
matures.
and I can have them put it,
Why don't you just email us on what
Yeah.
that is and we can,
yeah, okay.
I think we're all in agreement that we want to just send it out for bid.
Bid, yeah.
But let's
Well, I'll do
find the right
maturity.
term.
Yeah, get the right ladder.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I can do that.
Okay, anything else, Mary?
That's it.
Lisa, you wanna go with your report?
Yes, projects and leads for April, we had quite a few come in. Project Mars, International Advanced Manufacturing Company, looking for existing building. Unfortunately, we didn't have anything to fit that, so I just recorded that request. You can see on the back of your, report, the chart, and I keep those recorded, so, we have that record.
Can I ask a question before you get too far away from that?
Yeah,
The range of 22,000 square foot to 500,000, that's a huge range.
it is.
Is that right?
I think that they needed, multiple buildings, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken. I might
okay.
need to go back and look
I
at
got
that. Yeah, it's been a while since that came in.
And I would question if they would not, if we had a 22,000, which is more realistic than a
Mhm.
500,000,
Right.
would they have come? So,
Mhm. I'll check on, I'll review that again. I just honestly not remembering. Project Wildflower, IT industry, this is looking for a site within 20 miles of an exact address in, Kansas City. I'll just share that this is a data center and it somehow needs to be close. And I forget the term for it, but it needs to be close to the center hub. And so the address, we weren't, not within that radius. Project Tribe is a client in the service industry interested in expanding into the southern part of Leavenworth County. We're working with the county, specifically Commissioner Stephen on that and the company. So I will report as I feel I'm able to. Project Pullman is just preliminary discussions regarding land procurement. It's something that kind of came at me first from one elected official, and then I heard from several other people. Several entities are involved, and I'll keep track of that. There wasn't anything initially that I could do except provide any advice or guidance that we have. Project Hammer, international heavy manufacturer looking for 60 acres with rail spur on a site of a minimum of 1,500 feet from residential. Unfortunately, we missed out on both of those. We don't have that availability. I don't really have any updates on the existing projects. And if you're okay, I'll move on to a few items I just would like to share regarding LCDC and some of my work lately. So I'm sorry, Greg.
I've got one question, for Penny Holler. Does your commission get copies of this, project and leads?
Hi, Greg. So they have access to the information. We don't send them the full list. We usually try to provide them with updates on the ones just for us that we think are viable. As you know, the list gets a little dated at some point, but we try to keep them updated on what's coming in.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is Commissioner Martin had indicated, that he wanted to see why we're not getting projects or, what's coming in. And so I guess, I don't know if this would be helpful for him that he sees, hey, they wanted it within 20 miles of an exact location or not within that, or they want existing buildings to where he knows that we are looking at stuff. But it's your call and Scott's call. I was just curious.
Yep, we also do have Lisa present on a schedule to the city commission the actions of the Port Authority and LCDC. So that's also an opportunity to get in front of them at a public meeting and present the status of projects and for them to ask those questions. So, right, we know the question for Leavenworth on the table is, why haven't we had a project develop at the business park yet? So I think LCDC and the Port Authority and city staff are all trying to get them the updated information on that. So that's
Okay,
kind
thank
of
you.
where we are. I know Lisa does a good job on that.
Thank you.
We do keep track of why we don't submit the projects, and maybe that's another little chart or something that I could include at some point so that people can see those reasons. You guys maybe we can talk about that at some point. So in the end of April, I attended a conference called the Southern Economic Development Council, Meet the Consultants. And I always attend these once a year because they are really inexpensive and it's a good group of folks. They invite a lot of great site consultants. So it's an opportunity to get, to reach out to them directly and develop those relationships, as well as they provide a lot of presentations that and panel discussions about trends in the projects and how to get your sites ready and what other communities are doing, so we can improve our efforts. And that one was in Atlanta. While I'm there, one of the things that I'm trying to do to add more value to the time that when I spend away is to look for opportunities to have dinners or something with consultants. So at that one, I did get to have a dinner just with a developer at Hunt Midwest. She's actually from Kansas City, and she went to that too. So we just had dinner one night. So it's always a great chance to get in front of them and talk about what opportunities we have here in Leavenworth County. Then the next week, I was able to attend a Next Gen Talks conference in Kansas City. This one is, moves around the country, but this one was in Kansas City. And this one is nice because it's a little bit, they cap the reservations. And so it's smaller, it's more intimate, same situation. Site consultants are there doing panel discussions and answering questions from us. On this one, we had a round table, and we were able to have like 4 or 5 of us economic developers with a site selector, and we were able to ask them questions that, maybe things we're experiencing problems and what other people are doing, that sort of thing. So I liked that. While I was there to add some value, I was able to get invited by by a colleague at KCADC to host one site consultant. And the reason I was invited, we went to a Royals game, and the reason I was invited is because this site consultant works specifically with defense related projects. And so obviously with our military presence in this community, that was a good match. So we seemed to hit it off, and I've had a lot of communication through email since then. So he's asked some questions, and we're gathering all that information and providing it, and hopefully someday the intent for these are that they will come and visit our community and bring us a project. And so then the summary for both of these conferences, I heard the same message. I heard everybody saying these are chaotic times, they are unprecedented, they are uncertain. Those are words that kept popping up. A lot of projects are on hold because of this uncertainty. Uncertainty equals risk for these companies. So a lot of these companies are just putting everything on hold until things kind of settle down. Recommendations for economic developers: 1, continue your business attraction. 2, extra attention to your existing businesses, especially because they're, find out how what they're experiencing with these tariff issues and how they're dealing with it. And then finally, 3, continue your site development because when the dust settles, we want to be ready to rock and roll. So the other recommendation that they gave was to communities specifically, and they're saying over and over, anything you can do to help these companies speed to market is helpful. If you can look at your processes, anything you can do to help that move faster is really what's gonna help win these projects. The speed just keeps going faster. There's just no slowing down on that. And so then another event I wanted to tell you about, last week, I was invited by the Kansas Department of Commerce's International Division to attend a dinner that they hosted for 12 Taiwanese air mobility supply chain manufacturers. Mouthful. And so they did that at the Yard House. They had those manufacturers stay at the hotel right next to the Yard House, and so we met there and we had a chance to do introductions. There were a couple of people from the Kansas Department of Commerce there. there was somebody from, the, trade, oh, I lost it, Federal Trade Commission, I think, Josh Kaplan. And then, myself from Leavenworth County, and then Monica Breedy from Wyandotte County. So in a very small community, we were all representing the northeast part of Kansas. So that's why they invited me. And so we each got a couple of minutes to stand in front of these manufacturers and talk about why, our communities were a great place to consider being, investing. And so one of the things that I thought of was, with all this tariff uncertainty, how come they're kind of looking around at Kansas? And so I talked to one of the CEOs and they said, well, all this tariff uncertainty could cause increased tariffs for China. And they see that as an opportunity for them. So I thought that was a pretty interesting thought. So I've not only had, developed some relationships with a couple of them, I'm also responding with follow-up emails. And so hopefully that'll push forward. And one other new thing that I'm doing this year for business attraction is SIOR Development Day. Now, I go every year. This is an event that's done at the Union Station. It's actually the SIOR, which, oh boy, I can't tell you what it stands for, but it's a site selection organization, and it's almost like a trade show. You just have booth upon booth upon booth of developers within the Kansas City area, and economic development people go through and meet people, and you trade cards and that sort of thing. So I usually go. Well, this year I was able to get on the list as recommended by our colleagues at KCADC, and we're getting a table. So we're going to freshen up our marketing materials, and we are going to put our best foot forward and market Leavenworth County at SIOR Development Day. All right, BRE, business retention expansion. We cannot forget our existing businesses. One of the things, Diana is obviously the one that's responsible for that program here at LCDC. She spent the day with a new Kansas Department of Commerce in-state business development manager for the Northeast region. Her name is Wendy Enright. She attended our last investor luncheon in Tonganoxie. So while she was there, Diana coordinated a tour at Midstar Lab. They didn't have enough time for anything else. She's gonna come back for some more in Tonganoxie. Last week, Wendy came out and Diana set up tours to see CII Foods, or as you may know, Cereal Ingredients, Zephyr Products, and Great Western Manufacturing. And then Thursday, she's coming back to see Central Bag Company. We're continue to work with our existing manufacturers with our state programs. Diana's got one HPIP, which is due in June. And then the other thing, as you remember, I told you the recommendations from site selectors to make sure you're paying extra attention to your existing companies. So we asked some of the companies, how are you coping with this crazy uncertain times? And we learned so far in Leavenworth County, one of our manufacturers has seen a slight increase in the prices of their materials. But they are holding steady on increasing their prices for their clients because they don't want to risk losing those customers. So they're willing to take a little hit on themselves to keep those customers. Until this all settles down, they'll see how that works out. One of our manufacturers has seen one of their most used raw materials more than double in price. So unfortunately, they've been forced to pass that on. And so we'll see that, as we start buying things on the shelves. And then another manufacturer has been asked by one of their customers to hold their finished products because they're hoping that once the dust settles, the tariffs might reduce the cost to send those products to them. So they're asking them to just hold those products. And that's the end of anybody have any questions? Oh, I have one thing about advocacy committee. I did want to talk to you about that. They're just finalizing all of their documents that they're planning to use to pass out and present to potential people in the community to talk about LCDC and what the work that they do, why it's important, how they do it. And we're ready to send invitations to some events next month. You'll see, possibly on social media, you'll see some events that they're putting together. A coffee and a lunch and a evening event, so we can talk with people and answer questions and help that effort. Then finally, the one thing I want to talk to you guys about and get some guidance is tomorrow's event at the Board of County Commissions. We are supposed to go before them and do an LCP Port Authority and LCDC update. I am not really sure, you know, what we're supposed to include. I'm sure there will be questions about the education campaign. I'm sure there'll be questions about the budget. Other than that, I really need to know what can I bring and have ready so that I am ready to answer questions. I kind of felt like last time I tried to predict what questions would be asked and have all that material, but I still felt like there were things I didn't have available. So just any guidance from you.
Well, the county commissioners, it could be all over the board. So, let's just, I think a couple of things you could be, I mean, y'all touched on, what you're doing with the education. And I like the way the budget, y'all looked at some things, bringing that down at least some. They'll probably ask you, these are just throwing these out. They'll probably ask you, has there been any other opportunities to increase, income for you, for your budget to come in? I don't know, be new developers or new, partners or whatever. But I think one of the key things that we're looking at is what you talked about on the budget and also the, scope and shovel education. I know that's what I'm interested in. Of course, I'm here with y'all on that, see how it's gonna play out. Because I'm telling you right now, with the way property tax and everything sets, you can say tax anything and people they just don't want to do that. So that is really an uphill battle to be able to send that message clear. You start with the county. I do like the process that we all agreed on, that we go to the cities and anybody really that'll listen to us talk about that. But that's probably, of course, there can be some other things coming out too about industrial parks and things like that, but I haven't heard. So it's a little bit, I noticed I didn't answer, but it's a little bit of everything really. But the campaign is something I would definitely be.
Well, I think that's what we're focused on is we've got the date set for each individual
I think that's.
entity that we're gonna meet with and.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody here in the room knows how everything's gonna end up with.
Yeah.
With those, and that's why we're doing them, is
Yeah.
just kind of get the pulse of.
But I think just to let people know, especially since it's watched, that y'all are making the effort to get that out there, I think it's gonna be important. I think that's what you're doing.
Anything else to add to it?
Why don't? I guess, is there anything we need to post, is there anything else they want us to do, any other funding things we want to investigate? We were asked to form the committee, we did. From that committee came out the best way that we thought was a ballot measure. The timing right on that.
And I don't know if the question will come up too. A while back, they wanted somebody on the, I think, the executive board, and you all responded back to that saying that wasn't the way you looked at it right now. I don't know if that'll come up, but I know that was hit on a while back. So,
The last time we were there, yeah.
yeah. I'm trying to think back what was being said back then, so I'm not sure if that'll come or not. Is most of you probably gonna have questions and answer honestly. You give my understanding, or what I would say is, you present the things y'all talked about today, which is good stuff. And then there'll probably be more questions coming at you from a couple than anything else that's gonna occur. But I think we've got most of the answers.
Why don't you go over this report?
Okay.
Of what you've been working on. With prospects and leads, and that's a good kind of lead off to what we do every day. I mean,
I know that they don't wanna hear about, they don't wanna hear about who you had lunch with, but I know it's important because I've done that on both sides. But I think that it's more important about what have you got locked in, if you're going down that road, and what's on the future.
This is the nuts and bolts of
I know, that's what I'm saying.
we're all working on
That's what I'm saying.
Bringing businesses to
That's
the.
what I'm saying, that's important to see, because we got a couple new county commissioners. And I've seen these things before, of course, being like 27 years being on this board, I've seen this thing come. So it's important for the new ones to understand that these are things that y'all been working on and why we aren't successful in some. Well, we were trying to get rail, but we don't have rail. I mean, there's some things that we can lay out pretty easily on some of the things. And anybody knows this, you know, when Main Street opened up, we put, John Jackson and I put in 15, with the council put in 15 businesses. You know, this didn't happen overnight. These are things that you have to work on and get the word out and the education on what was happening, but, and that's how we brought it in, and that's what I think what you think you're doing here. And I guarantee you, for every business we tried to get, it took us 10 years to get Quick Trip. And for every business we brought in, wanted to come here because we're the best things in sliced bread, there's 15 or 25 that didn't.
Oh, your batting average is
You know, so, you know.
worse than a major leaguer,
Yeah,
yeah.
so, you know, it's just the way it is. I mean, but it's a hard business to be in to do that, but you need to promote your success story, especially down south.
I'm a little concerned that maybe the way I'm wording these meetings, you know, dinners and that, I'm concerned that maybe what you're, or correct me if I'm wrong, hearing is that I'm just spending money and.
No, I'm not saying that.
Oh, okay.
I think
I just wanna make sure
I think
that,
that ROI, return on investment. The other thing I've clear to, a lot of folks don't understand what some of the terms are. So when you say something, even if it's abbreviation, something like that, I make sure they understand. They probably won't ask you, I'm gonna say, I will. But I mean, if there's something up there that y'all use that's part of your language that you do on a regular basis, that maybe the normal public doesn't understand, you know, and you may see it on there. And I know we talked about, we've got a couple examples in my office. I think that's something that just to clear up, so they understand exactly what you're talking about.
okay.
That makes sense.
Would it help also to talk, cause I think maybe what you're talking about is ROI, return on investment. I would think that maybe the property taxes that are coming out of all the businesses that are in this park is important, the number of jobs. So
Absolutely.
have
should
that
be one-
tomorrow.
That should be one of your first things, because they're looking like the return on investment. What you're getting with these are things that y'all can show.
Mhm.
And you can beat your chest on showing that this is what's occurring. And like anybody else that's a developer, people are gonna come in and ask for something. That's just the way it is. I didn't bring in these businesses, well, Lansing didn't bring his business without making some agreement. And sometimes agreements are too high on some of these RHIDs I've had issues with. But most of the buildings I dealt with years ago, you could find a middle ground to show, and then you can show the things. The property tax or the sales tax, which the county doesn't get, or the people it's bringing in to, thing, that there's a lot of positive things that, when you say you bring in something to the park, there's a lot more to that than just being successful in that park. What else does that bring in on the table that's promoting Leavenworth County? And I think restaurants, there's just a lot of stuff that I think you can do. In my opinion, as a chair, I think what they're probably looking at more, wanting to see, especially the two new county commissioners, this is the first time they're at this rodeo.
The examples, the long-term example is cereal ingredients. That's obvious. It went from zero to
Yeah,
a bunch of employees, and that
That's a
was
good
all
example.
LCDC, the
Yeah.
Port Authority.
Mhm.
You mentioned, the place down in the industrial park, they do the insert, the
Midstar.
Midstar.
Mhm.
That place started with about 12 employees. There's at least 20 there now. And that's new. That's within 3 or 4 or 5 years. And that was
that's
something
right,
that
yeah.
this group helped those people get that building. So we went from zero, building was empty. Went from zero to, I think they started with 12, and my memory may be old, but I walk by there every day and there's 20 cars there now.
Mhm.
And those people come to town, you see them drive out to go to lunch somewhere and come back.
Yeah.
That's a win that was directly from these organizations.
Right.
Mhm.
And
And
it
then
was an
sometimes
empty building, paying taxes and nobody there.
you gotta capture that though.
And that was a shorter term than, but it's still an option. And then Hills, obviously, it's all,
Yeah.
you see what it is, and DSM, those are no brainer, they're brand new.
Yeah.
But you have midterm, long-term, and short, and as Commissioner Smith said that you work on that, we worked on that industrial park in Tonganoxie since 1997.
Yep,
And it took till now, and nothing happened for 10 years. Then something happened, then something more had to happen. And laying those out is really the educational program that the only entity that's still around is LCDC and the Port Authority.
Yeah.
Because commissioners and councilmen come and go. And so the long-term game is this organization and LCDC. And I think you don't have to tell Mike, he already knows, he's lived it. But if you're brand new, you don't know that, and the next new commissioner that comes on, or the next new councilman, they don't know nothing.
and they may not ask you, they just look at
They
you.
don't know what to ask.
Yeah, you don't know what the question is, so that's important, some things just Chris just shared with you, stuff like that. Because I think sometimes we've done it so long, we've got somebody in this room that just second nature to us, when it's not to them. And that's why you gotta, you gotta pound on
Well,
your desk.
that's why I think this, starting with the
Yeah.
leads and what we're working on.
Now, Lisa, one of the things I'm sure not picking on, when you go to those meetings, I understand you're building relationships with people who are running these companies out to cities looking for the
Mhm.
best deal.
Mhm.
If we don't have a go-to person
Yeah.
or a go-to entity in this county, they ain't coming.
Right,
Right.
The public doesn't know
That's just
that.
part of doing
The
business.
public doesn't know that. He'll just drive down the street. No, I like Tonganoxie, here I go.
Yeah.
That's not what happens to get $450 million.
Feasibility study, all that stuff comes, yeah.
and I wouldn't think that, the Board of County Commissions would be the appropriate place for me to talk to you about those conferences and,
Well, and then see, I don't disagree with that. Quick Trip, they had Las Vegas, I went there 3 or 4 years, not that I minded. We went there 3 or 4 years to meet with the folks because it was the International Shopping Center thing. And those are the people that you get in a little cubicle for about 15 minutes, and that's all you get. I'm sure some of y'all probably been there. And but those are the people that can sign on a dotted line or get you in the right direction. And we just keep going and going. So I'm not downgrading that because I've done it a lot
Mhm.
myself. I'm just trying, you got so much time and so much information in front of a group of people. What is the most effective
Yes,
for them to hear? That's where I'm going.
it
with that.
sounds like property taxes and the impact of these specific companies that we've worked with.
Yeah, I think those,
That's the,
and the ones that work, what you're still in touch with. But I wouldn't give them a list so long that they, we're humans, we start wondering. After an hour meeting, I've always believed, as humans, we start looking around.
You're done.
So you gotta get all your important information in that one package. I mean, you could sit here and talk to us for 10 hours, it'd all be good stuff, but what's the most important for each group is here, and I think what we just spoke on that.
So I'll be there,
I'll be there.
you'll be there, you'll be there, okay.
I should be there.
Harlan or Brian,
yes, Chad, Shinky, Harlan, Brian, Habian.
Okay.
Those 3 will be there.
all right, I think between that group, we can,
Yeah, you're in a good position.
we'll be all
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Greg, do you wanna talk about regional transportation study?
Yeah, he just jumped off. He
Oh.
jumped
Oh,
off.
he had to get off.
Okay,
Yeah. he had to
Okay.
jump off.
is there's a handout about that, if you wanna read about that in the packet, the
Yeah, good
highlight
update.
items
There's
are.
a lot going on.
Yeah, that's what I said.
There's a lot,
All over the place.
all over. It's hard to get from one end of the county to another. I think we'll get a helicopter service.
I went to a few meetings in Bastrop a while back when they were doing those roads, and I had to take the Sink Road because I didn't know what the detour, where am I?
Oh,
where are you
yeah.
taking
If
me?
you don't know where you're going, you're gonna get stuck.
Yes.
Okay, so industrial site committee, is there anybody, that's Harlan's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's still we've been kind of preoccupied with other things, we just only have so many people.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Golden Shovel, do you wanna talk about that, Lisa, what our next steps are with them?
Currently, they have provided some documents that we need to go through and read, and approve. So we are going to, and then the advocacy committee for LCDC is going to use some of their information and feed it to a Golden Shovel. But what we need to do is we now, Greg has scheduled meetings and the initial meetings for this education campaign. And he has secured dates with all cities and, well, cities of Basehor, Lansing, Leavenworth, and Tonganoxie, as well as the county, where they will give them kind of a, hey, this is what's gonna happen, what you're gonna see. And then that, after those meetings in July, then the education campaign will officially start.
Okay, so those dates are July 7th, Tonganoxie, July 8th with the city of Leavenworth, and these are at their normal board,
Mhm.
or council meetings. July 9th with the county, and that's in the morning.
Yeah.
July 9th at Basehor, 6 p.m., and then the 17th with Lansing, so,
And I'll send an invite out,
okay.
calendar invite.
Please, Mary, I'm on. Thank you. Yes. I look forward to those.
Okay, affiliated partners, Penny's the only one on there, the last one standing. George.
Great.
Georgia.
Is George
This is
on?
perfect. So, I'm the only one here. Everything's good in Leavenworth. No issues whatsoever. Just kidding. So the focus for Leavenworth, tonight's study session will focus on our CIP, so our capital improvement program. That's what we'll look at, transportation and road infrastructure projects for the next 5 years. We'll look at wastewater treatment plant and necessary improvements for that. And we'll look at our stormwater program and CIP items for that. So that's really the big focus right now for the city of Leavenworth is our budget.
Jamie, I wanted to just say one thing too. We had that joint meeting the other day, and I thought that went very well, so I appreciate you hosting it. If most of you folks don't know, I've asked that we go meet with we did it years ago, meet with all the entities, so we can sit down and have an eyeball-to-eyeball chat. They tend to go well, and I thought, and sometimes they go sideways, but I think the one with City of Leavenworth was went very well, and a lot of information was laid on the table, so I appreciate y'all hosting that.
Right. Yep. Thanks, Commissioner. It's always good to learn more. I think there's always room for that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Communicate and collaborate, we can do better as a
That's
team
what I'm
than
trying to
individual.
do, exactly.
Is George still on there? Can you tell, Mary?
No, I don't think he is.
He's having a-
Yeah, I don't think George is on, I
Okay.
think he jumped off.
Okay, so we got anybody else?
That's it.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yeah.
Dropped off too.
Josh.
Josh was on, but he dropped off.
Yeah, he dropped off too.
Comment on the way through your meeting.
Yeah.
Nodding off my report.